the big news of the day really are these sanctions, these tariffs are going to be imposed later tonight at midnight. What is your reaction? We're getting a reaction from Capitol Hill.
Well, look, I think, the president committed to renegotiating NAFTA. My state was particularly hurt by NAFTA. We lost over 40,000 manufacturing jobs. So I think we need a new trade deal that protects American jobs, American workers, and also is fair to American business. And so the president has been engaged in negotiations. But, the tariffs have to be done carefully and have to be properly calibrated and have to be sure that they address the problem and don't hurt your allies and launch a trade war. So it's unclear to me what the president's strategy is here. These are important allies of ours. There's a real problem with the Chinese in terms of their trade relationship with the United States. They manipulate their currency, they steal our intellectual property, and they cheat in trade. We ought to be crafting solutions to respond to that in a targeted way. But I worry about the impact on some of our allies and trading partners and the uncertainty it's bringing to American business. So I hope it's part of a larger plan that maybe the president hasn't really disclosed, but it seems he responds to a particular set of circumstances day by day, rather than having a well thought out, well-developed trade strategy. And so I'm concerned that it's going to start a serious trade war.
And what about the possible damage to your businesses up in Rhode Island from retaliation? We have Mexico already saying they're going to go right away, and they've got specified tariffs they're going to impose. We've got France saying they're going to retaliate. We've got the EU saying they're taking us to the WTO and look at tariffs. So what kind of damage could it do to businesses up there in Rhode Island?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've heard from a number of constituent business owners already the last time the president proposed this about the consequences and the impact on jobs here in Rhode Island and on their businesses. So this is something that I'm very concerned about. As I said, I've been monitoring the trade negotiations very closely because there are improvements we can make to NAFTA. But these are trading partners who are allies of the United States. The imposition of tariffs can have a really negative impact on our economy here. But again, it's a targeted response that has been used in the past and sometimes used effectively when it's connected to a larger trade policy. That's what I'm concerned is not present here.
Congressman, let's now talk about the special counsel investigation, because we have heard from President Trump's personal lawyer, Mr. Giuliani, saying that President Trump is unlikely to fire the Attorney General Jeff Sessions before the completion of the probe, and yet the president continues to attack the special counsel investigation. We're now seeing public support for the investigation dropping. How do you expect this to impact, and if not the outcome of the investigation, but at least the length and the breadth of the probe?
Well, I have complete confidence that Mr. Mueller and his team will continue to do their work and do it in a professional way, and will get the work done as quickly as they can, but will do it thoroughly. There have been 22 indictments and guilty pleas, which is very significant in just over a year. But what we have to do is protect Mr. Mueller from outside interference. We need to make sure that he has the resources he needs to complete the investigation, to get to the truth wherever that leads us. And we have to all, Republican and Democrat, strongly condemn the president's continued attempt to impede this investigation, to undermine it, to attack the professionals who are engaged in it. He's made so many misstatements about the individuals leading the investigation, saying they're all Democrats, when in fact, Mr. Mueller, Mr. Rosenstein, Mr. Wray, they're all Republicans. So the president has attacked the integrity of the Department of Justice and the special counsel's office. These are professionals who are doing tough work, who are upholding the rule of law, and we need, frankly, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. There have been a few who have stood up, most notably Trey Gowdy recently, who said, look, the FBI is doing their job. They are protecting our democracy. They are protecting the rule of law in this country. And we cannot allow the president to continue to beat them down in order to protect himself and his associates from ultimately being held accountable for their misconduct.
Congressman, by protecting Mr. Mueller, are you talking about special legislation in order to protect the special counsel?
Yes, we have legislation pending in the House that would protect Mr. Mueller from being discharged except for cause. I've also co-sponsored another piece of legislation along with Jamie Raskin to preserve documents if Mr. Mueller or any members of his team are fired by the president. But look, we have to make it clear that we will not allow the president of the United States to attempt to stop this investigation, no matter how close it gets to him. No one is above the law in this country, and to see the president affirmatively trying to undermine the rule of law and the fact that this investigation will make sure people are held accountable is very disturbing. And I'm particularly disappointed that my Republican colleagues have been silent on this, by and large. They need to add their voices to this. History is going to look back and say who stood up to protect our democracy, who stood up to condemn efforts to undermine the rule of law and important institutions in this country, and history is going to judge those very harshly who don't do their part.